What's up everyone, my name is Pauline and I'm a physical therapist and you are watching Clinical Sprinkles. For those of you who are new around here, I work at an outpatient orthopedic physical therapy clinic and I've been working at this setting for about 4 years now, and within those 4 years I've worked at 2 jobs. So this video is to help you figure out what kind of things to look for in an outpatient ortho job and what kind of questions to ask during the interview to make sure that you get a good sense of whether this place is the right fit for you. Make sure you watch this video all the way through because I am not going to be listing them in any particular order, and so I don't want you to miss out on any good information. The first point we're going to go over is your schedule. One of the perks of being an outpatient ortho is that it's not typically open on the weekends. However, some clinics are open on Saturdays. So that was one of the big points for me, was that I didn't want a job on Saturday or Sunday. So make sure you're checking that clinic hours and seeing if Saturdays may potentially be a responsibility for you. Sometimes those are on a rotation basis, sometimes they're assigned to the PT. So if your schedule on days of the week is going to be a problem, make sure you know that going in. Also, it's not unusual for a new grad PT to get the later shift. I definitely did. My hours were almost from 11 to 7:30 p.m. at night. If you have any obligations on like what time of day that works best for you, keep that in mind as well. Being a new grad, I was very flexible, didn't have a family at home that I needed to come home and take care of, so it worked out well for me. So totally case by case, but make sure you feel comfortable with the schedule that you're assigned. So one of the big questions for me was, how many patients am I expected to see in a day? This gives you a general sense of how busy you're going to be in a typical work day. So if, for example, if you work 8 hours and you're expected to see 14 patients, that's actually, since they were on every half hour, I was really doing treatment for 7 hours and then kind of a buffer of an hour to do your documentation, I guess. At the place that I'm at now, it's been kind of slow still because of COVID, so I haven't had actually a full schedule. So far I've been seeing patients on the hour, sometimes only half hour. The red flag that you want to look for is that you're not seeing 20 plus patients, that they're able to kind of multitask, see 4 patients in 1 hour, get one person started on heat, another on a modality, the one on exercises, and one on manual. So then all 4 patients come at the top of the hour and then they get juggled around like that. Me personally, I'm big on one-on-one patient care, and so that doesn't vibe well with me. So if you're seeing numbers within the 20s and being in like a shorter amount of time span, be mindful of that. So the question you would ask is, how many patients would I see in a typical day? So then of those patients, you also want to be mindful of how many evaluations you're going to see in a day. So for example, my first job, we didn't actually have a hard rule of, a max cap of how many evaluations you would see, but typically the most I would see is 4. The worst day I've ever had, or the most evaluations I've had in a day, was 5. But again, it wasn't like a hard max cap. But evaluations take a lot more time, a lot more brain power, and a lot more documentation. So you want to be mindful that if you're going to have 14 patients a day, that they're not all going to be evaluations, especially if you have a PT assistant functioning at the clinic holding their own schedule, because maybe they're seeing all the follow-ups, you're doing all the progress notes, discharges, and evaluations. I think generally just figuring out how many evaluations you see in a day is a good place to start. So working in outpatient ortho, you have the opportunity to see a very large variety of patients. So the next question would be, what patient population will I see here? Will you be seeing geriatrics for high fall risk or balance issues? Are you going to be seeing any sort of neuro patients, any post-op? You'll most likely see like the chronic pain, had this pain for over 5 years. That's going to be at most outpatient ortho clinics. Athletes, are you going to see student athletes in high school that are going to be higher functioning, that are going to challenge you to give more higher level, more fun prescriptive exercises? Women's health, vestibular, TMJ, there's a whole variety of outpatient ortho conditions that you may see. And so kind of getting a gauge of what they see the most often, or like what they see in general as well may be helpful for you to gauge if this is the right fit for you, because I like to have a huge variety in what I'm working in, keeps me on my toes. I'm well versed in many areas, and so that's just my preference. But depending on what you're looking for, you want to make sure that they have your special interest at the clinic that you're going to be applying for. Now, working for about 4 years, I want to make sure that I get to practice the way that I want to practice. So I call this the autonomy to practice the way that I want to. Am I going to be micromanaged by the supervisor or clinic director to treat the patient the way that they want the patient to be treated? Or do I get the freedom and decision to figure out and prescribe what I want to give? Are the prescriptive exercises going to be cookie cutter and they're on this like flow sheet and you're only allowed to give like these exercises and these progressions? Or will I be able to give what I want to give? Or, if there's a high use of modalities at a clinic that I'm at. I did an ultrasound video not that long ago. You can find it in my channel. And the clinic that I'm at now does use a lot of ultrasound. And that's something that I really didn't practice before. But, am I still able to give patients treatment without incorporation use of ultrasound? That's kind of the part where it's the autonomy of practice. Am I able to figure out and prescribe what I see what's best for the patient? Or am I supposed to follow a system and model that has already been put in place for however long? The next one is a big one for me. If you know me, I am all about learning, growing, how to get better. That's why I have created this YouTube channel, is to help you all become better, giving you clinical sprinkles, clinical knowledge about how to become a better PT. And so this next one is huge for me. It is mentorship. Especially being a new grad PT, every single interview I went to asked about mentorship. What kind of mentorship do you provide? Is it direct one-on-one? Is someone going to be shadowing me? How many in-services are you going to have each month? What kind of in-services do you have? What kind of resources do you give to new grad PTs to grow, develop? What kind of course or track work that you provide to them? What kind of resources? Who can I talk to? Mentorship is a huge thing for me, and that was huge, especially being new grad. So make sure that if you're new or you still want that continued guidance, that you're asking about mentorship, and then being specific on what that looks like, so that once you get hired on, then you can kind of start to create a schedule based on the conversation that you have. Another piece to keep in mind is, who do you work with? The support staff that you may have may include a PT aide, a PT assistant, or other PTs. Being a new grad PT, I would be very cautious to be hired in a clinic where you're the only PT there. I had a lot of questions coming out of school, and so being able to ask my PT that was sitting right next to me, who shared a desk with me, questions was incredibly valuable. Although I may have been annoying because I asked a lot of questions, having a resource right there to me, or him being able to direct me to hey, there's answers in this book, why don't you read this book? Also, the benefit of working with another PT is that if you get stuck on a case, you can do a peer-to-peer consult where you have that one patient schedule on the other PT's schedule, and then him or her give you advice or guidance on where to go next. So they can do a mini reassessment or even a co-treat with you. So there's tons of benefits with working with another PT in the same clinic. So just be cautious that you're not going to be the only PT there at the place that you go to. And then of your support staff, making sure that you know how you're able to utilize them. Are you able to pull them while you're working in a treatment session? Are the aides just there to do laundry, clean rooms, make sure the flow of the schedule? Are they actually being utilized for patient care? Understanding those points may be helpful as well, so that way you know that, if you have this many patients in a day, how much of that do you actually have help with? Because that makes a big difference as well. Depending on what your career goals are, you may want to go and become a mentor at some point, and then you want to see what that may look like for you. You might want to be a professor, you might want to be a clinic director, you might want to just be a staff PT, which is all totally fine. It depends on where you want to go, but making sure that the company you work for can accommodate that growth, is fostering that growth, is supporting your growth. So if you know what you want, make sure you communicate that in the interview and making sure that they are willing to help you get there or help point you in the right direction on how to get there or give you the appropriate resources. This one you probably have heard about. This one seems like a no-brainer, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm going to give you a little bit more specifics on this, is the benefits. So this was a mistake of mine. Actually, in my most recent interview, we went over benefits and he said, yes, you get benefits. At the 30-day mark, you get access to your health insurance. At the 90-day mark, you get access to your PTO benefits. Cool. What I didn't do was ask the specifics. So once I got hired on, I realized my healthcare, my monthly payment would double from my last job. I didn't realize how big of a difference it would be, and so actually it made more sense for me to stay on my husband's health account. But being hired on, I thought my health payments would be less or comparable to what my last employer offered. It was not. As I'm calculating my salary, I'm realizing that actually, since I have to pay more for health, it kind of cuts into that. So make sure if you're asking whether they offer it, it's not a matter of yes or no, is if you can get maybe a general summary of what the cost may look like. I don't know. That was my bad. I learned from that the hard way. Another benefit to discuss is the continuing education. How much are they giving you each year? How much do you expect? What kind of coursework do you plan to take within the next year? Are they able to be flexible about it? Say you want to do like a fellowship or a residency, that's going to cost a lot more, but are they able to be flexible with that like structured, you get $1,500 a year? Make sure that you're asking these questions, again, depending on your career goals. You should have already gone over what you want to do based on that conversation and whether they're able to, negotiate that in of how much continuing education do you get? Do you have to commit to the company if they give you X amount of money? Another potential benefit they may offer you is a bonus system. COVID is happening right now, so my company is not offering a bonus system, but how often bonuses are offered? How do they incentivize you? Are there actual benchmarks that they're measuring to make sure that you're hitting the targets so that it's not this arbitrary, you get a bonus if the company does well? How do you really know that as a staff employee? Do you get the numbers? No. So just making sure you know what they're measuring, how they're measuring, how that's implemented, how often it's implemented, and get your money. And then lastly, outpatient ortho, you want to see if they have a good reputation. What I did, I kind of creeped on the website, I looked at the Google reviews, I looked at the Yelp reviews. I want to see what the patients are saying about the providers that work there. Do they have a good reputation? Are the PTs that work there or the providers that work there good? So your patients can say a lot. That's kind of like a behind the scenes research that you can do for yourself. Sometimes they don't have a lot of reviews, which is fine. But if you're getting some really negative or you're seeing common themes of negative reviews, might be a red or yellow flag. Those are my 10 tips for outpatient ortho when searching for a job. So if you have any other comments or ideas, please leave them below so that other people watching this can learn from you as well. Those were my top 10, and going through 2 different jobs, it's a learning experience each time for me. 2 jobs within 4 years isn't that much, I don't think, because I've had a lot of classmates that have gone through a lot more jobs and different settings as well. Through what I've learned, this is what I wanted to share with you all based on my experience now. If you learned something, please give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And then please subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on future episodes. Thank you all for watching so much. I do want to share that I have my own website where I help pre-PTs with their personal statements, and right now is a hot time for personal statements, and I've had a lot of fun coaching and consulting. Check out the website to learn more about how I help. I'll link it in the video notes below, and then if you have any questions, you can always find me on Instagram. Direct message works really great, or you can message me on my website in the contact section. My Instagram handle I'll leave below as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for giving me your time. I hope you learned something, and good luck looking for jobs.